The Grand Tribunal of the Galactic Confederation was infamous for its flair for dramatic justice, but even by their standards, this was over the top. 12 high magistrates, their scaled skin glinting beneath the chamber's violet glow, gazed down at Valaxar with what could only be described as smug satisfaction. "For crimes against the Confederation," announced Chief Magistrate Thune, his voice booming through the hall, "including theft of restricted technology, unauthorized access to military databases, and the rather inventive sabotage of Administrator Kroll's personal shuttle. You are hereby sentenced to exile." Vela rolled her eyes. "Exile? That's it? I was expecting something more dramatic after enduring 3 cycles of your self-important speeches." I stifled a laugh. As the court-appointed observer, I was meant to remain neutral, but Vela had a knack for making neutrality impossible. The girl had nerve, I'd give her that. "Not just any exile," Thune continued, his triple-lidded eyes narrowing. "Exile to Sol 3. A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. Even I couldn't keep my composure. Sol 3, known to its natives as Earth, was designated a Class 5 Deathworld, so dangerous that the Confederation maintained strict non-interference protocols. "You're sending me to Earth?" Vela's confident front cracked for the first time. That's a death sentence." "Oh, the infamous Vale and Nixar are afraid?" Thune's mouth twisted into something that passed for a smile among the Vidian species. "The human world is hostile, yes, but not immediately fatal to our kind. You will survive. Perhaps consider it a mercy compared to what Administrator Kroll had planned for you." "What's on Earth that's so terrible?" Vela demanded, tugging at her restraints. Magistrate Lore, the sole proxian on the tribunal, leaned forward. "Gravity, 10% higher than Confederation standard. Oxygen levels that will leave you in a constant state of intoxication. Atmospheric pressure that will make your skin feel perpetually compressed. Bacteria and viruses, evolved exclusively for their own biosphere. Extreme temperature swings." She paused for effect. "And then there are the humans. Aggressive, unpredictable, dangerous," Thune added. "A species shaped by a world determined to kill them at every turn. They are survivors, predators by nature. Their history is written in blood and war." I caught something odd in Vela's expression then. The fear had vanished, replaced by curiosity. "The shuttle for your transport departs in 6 hours, Thune announced. "The tribunal is adjourned." As the magistrates filed out, I stepped toward Vela, fulfilling my role as court-appointed observer. "That went about as well as could be expected," I said, disengaging her restraints. "Did you know about this?" "Saineth?" she asked, rubbing her wrists, her violet eyes narrowing. "No," I admitted. "This punishment is unprecedented. Normally they ship criminals off to the mining colonies on Proxima B. But not me." She gave a short, humorless laugh. "I get an entire death world to myself. Any advice for surviving among humans?" I hesitated. As a xenobiologist specializing in pre-contact species, I knew far more about humans than most. They were not what the tribunal had described, eyes. The same spark I'd seen when the tribunal pronounced her sentence. "They'll underestimate you," I warned, "just as you'll be tempted to underestimate them. That's how people die on Earth." Vela's lips curved into the faintest smirk. "Then I'll just have to make sure I'm not people." Somehow, I wasn't sure if she meant the humans or herself. The loading officer, his tone dripping with mockery. Vela stepped onto the ramp without hesitation, her violet eyes scanning the shuttle's interior like she was already memorizing its layout. "More than you'll ever know," she said evenly, yet there it was, an entire facility bristling with defenses and humming with energy signatures that didn't belong on a pre-FTL world. Administrator Kroll's mandibles clicked in irritation. "We'd like to know as well. Our scans show hybrid systems. Human engineering fused with designs from at least 4 different Confederation species. That should be impossible, I murmured, leaning closer to the hologram. Humans don't have access to those schematics. Kroll's compound eyes narrowed. Exactly, which means Vela either smuggled the knowledge in or extracted it from someone. A younger magistrate shifted uneasily. It's not just the technology. The humans working there, thousands of them, are loyal to her. Fanatically so. She's training them. Training them for what? I asked. Kroll's tone was cold. That, Observer Zenith, is what we need you to find out before she turns your so-called Deathworld into the most dangerous military power in the galaxy. Unexpected how? I asked, though part of me already suspected the answer. Lori's expression hardened. We lost contact within 24 hours. Our last transmission indicated the operative had been persuaded to join her cause. Kroll's mandibles clicked in sharp irritation. She is destabilizing an entire planet's development curve. This is no longer exile. This is subversion. I leaned back, exhaling slowly. You're not just afraid she'll help humans reach the stars faster. You're afraid of what they'll do once they get there, with her leading them. Neither of them denied it. Finally, Kroll leaned forward. You studied her, Zenith. You know her mind. If she keeps going unchecked, she could tip the balance of galactic power. I met his gaze evenly. Then you'd better hope I can reach her first. Because if Vela decides the galaxy is her enemy... I paused, letting the weight of the words sink in. There won't be a warning next time. The hologram shifted to display a recorded message. Vela's face appeared, looking healthier than I remembered. Earth's conditions seemed to agree with her. Greetings, Confederation, she said, smiling that dangerous smile. I received your little spy. Don't worry, he's unharmed. Though perhaps a bit humiliated. Consider this a formal notification. Earth is now under my protection. Any further Confederation interference will be met with consequences. I have shared certain information with my human partners about your monitoring stations in their solar system. They were quite interested. The message ended, leaving the room in stunned silence. She's bluffing, Crow finally said. Though he didn't sound convinced, is she? I asked. You underestimated her once already. Lori turned to me. This is why you are here, Zenith. You spoke with her before her exile. Did she give any indication of planning something like this? I thought back to our conversation. She asked about human technology and adaptability. I told her, humans solve problems in ways we wouldn't consider, and you didn't think this information might be dangerous in the hands of a criminal. Kroll demanded. With respect, Administrator, I answered basic questions that any xenobiologist would know. I didn't tell her to build a research facility and threaten the Confederation. We need you to go to Earth, Lori said. Suddenly, make contact with Vela. Find out what she's planning and persuade her to cease this dangerous interference with human development. Me, I'm an observer, not a diplomat. You have rapport with her, Lori insisted. And your background in human studies makes you uniquely qualified. I looked at the hologram at the complex Vela had built in just 3 years, and if I refuse, then we will be forced to take more direct action. Kroll stated, the security of the Confederation is at stake. We cannot allow humans to advance too quickly, especially under the guidance of someone with a grudge against us. The implication was clear. They would eliminate the threat regardless of the non-interference protocols. Millions of humans could die in the process. I will go, I said, but I will need full discretionary authority. No monitoring, no check-ins, absolutely. Not Kroll began, but Lori cut him off. Granted, you have 1 Earth year to resolve this situation. After that, we implement containment protocols. Earth was everything. The briefings described, and more loud, chaotic, vibrant, overwhelming. I landed in what humans called Las Vegas, a city of lights and noise that never seemed to sleep. My genetic modifications and a simple appearance-altering field allowed me to pass as human, though the gravity made my movements awkward. At first, finding Vela's compound was easy enough. It had become somewhat famous. Among humans, a mysterious research facility run by an eccentric billionaire, unexpected development. Vela's getting inside would be the challenge. I approached the main gate where armed human guards stood watch. Before I could speak, a voice came from a nearby speaker well. "Well, Observer Zenith, I was wondering when they'd send you." I looked up at a camera positioned above the gate. "Hello, Vela, you have been busy. You have no idea, come in. We have much to discuss." The gates opened, and I was escorted through layers of security that mixed human and Confederation technology in ways I'd never imagined possible. Finally, I was led to a luxurious office with panoramic views of the desert Velasat behind. A desk looking remarkably at ease. She wore human clothing, her hair styled in a local fashion. If not for her violet eyes and the subtle differences in her facial structure, she could have passed for human without modifications. "Welcome to Exiled Industries," she said, gesturing around the room. "What do you think of my punishment so far?" "I think you have turned exile into opportunity," I replied carefully. "But the tribunal is concerned," she laughed. "I bet they are, especially Kroll, he pulling his facial tentacles out. Yet, they are talking about containment protocols. Velado, you understand what that means?" Her smile faded. "They would sterilize portions of this planet, just to stop me, to stop humanity from advancing too quickly under your guidance. Yes. The Confederation fears what humans might become they should," she said, standing to look out at "My paper, the one you published last month in Quantum Horizons," she said, looking slightly confused. Vela smoothly interjected, "Dr. Tal is modest about his contributions. If you will excuse us, Doctor," as we walked away, I hissed. "You published Confederation, Theoretical Physics. Under my cover name, I needed to establish your credentials." Vela shrugged, "And it's not like the theories are wrong. Besides, the humans improved on your gravitational coupling equations. They found an error in the third derivative. That's not possible. Those equations were perfected by our top physicists over decades." "Exactly my point," Vela said with a smirk. "Humans think differently. They approach problems from angles we'd never consider, because they evolved on a world that constantly tried to kill them, creativity born from survival." As we continued the tour, I saw more evidence of this unusual collaboration between a Confederation exile and Deathworld natives. The technology was a hybrid, recognizably human in its aesthetics, but incorporating principles that should have been centuries beyond their grasp. Yet the humans worked with it confidently, often improving on Vela's initial designs. "Why are you showing me all this?" I asked as we entered her private laboratory. "Aren't you concerned I will report everything to the Confederation?" "Oh, I'm counting on it," she replied, activating a holographic display of Theseler system. "But I want you to report the truth, not just what you think you know." The display zoomed in on Earth's moon, revealing a structure on the far side that definitely wasn't human in origin. "What am I looking at?" I asked, though I already suspected the answer. "The Confederation monitoring station been there for centuries, watching human, occasionally intervening your people, never bothered to remove the evidence completely humans. Call them conspiracy theories or unexplained phenomena, little breadcrumbs of truth scattered throughout their history. If you have known about this, why haven't you exposed it to humanity?" Vela's expression grew serious. "Global panic wouldn't serve. Anyone instead. I have been selective about who learns the truth. World leaders, key scientists, people who can prepare humanity for what's coming and what exactly is coming." "Vela change," she said simply, "the Confederation can't keep humanity isolated. Forever, the question is whether first contact happens on human terms or Confederation terms." 3 months passed. My reports to the Confederation grew increasingly vague. Much to Administrator Kroll's frustration, I found myself spending more time at Exiled Industries, Observing, learning, and increasingly helping the Dawnbreaker was taking shape in a massive hangar built into a mountainside. The ship was beautiful, sleek, and functional, nothing like the utilitarian designs favored by Confederation. Engineers had incorporated elements of human aesthetics, what they called design thinking, with practical functionality. "You are stalling Zenith Lore's holographic form," said during our latest communication maintainment protocols. "Confederation's betrayal have been authorized. We are simply waiting for final approval from the High Council attainment." Would be a mistake, I argued, based on my observations. Aggressive action against Earth would only confirm Vela's warnings about the Confederation. Many humans now have knowledge of advanced technology. You can't contain an idea once it's spread. "Then what do you suggest?" Lori asked her, tune skeptical. "More time? Let me continue to assess the situation. The High Council meets in 30 cycles without concrete recommendations. From you, Kroll's containment plan will likely be approved after the communication ended." I sought out Vela. I found her in an unexpected place, a classroom filled with human children. She sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by young humans aged between what they called 6 and 12 years, patiently explaining the principles of anti-gravity. And that's why, if we reverse the polarity, just so she demonstrated with Asmal device, causing a ball to float above her palm, we can make objects float. The children gasped and clapped with delight. One small girl raised her hands. "Nixar, when we can go to the stars, will we meet other children?" Like us, Vela's expression softened in a way I'd never seen before. "The universe is vast and wonderful, Talia. There are indeed children of many kinds among the stars. Some look very different from you, but they laugh and play and learn just as you do." "Will they be our friends?" another child asked. "I hope so." Vela replied, "That's why it's so important that when humanity reaches the stars, we go as friends ourselves." She noticed me in the doorway and wrapped up the lesson as the children filed out. Many hugged her, a human gesture of affection I'd observed but never experienced. "I didn't expect to find you teaching children." I said when we were alone, "The future belongs to them," she replied, putting away the anti-gravity device. "They will inherit the stars we are reaching for better. They understand what awaits with wonder rather than fear. The Confederation is voting on containment protocols in 30 cycles." I said bluntly, "I can't stall them any longer." Bella nodded, unsurprised. "Then we accelerate our timeline. The Dawnbreaker is nearly ready. You can't possibly launch early. The riskie's less than the risk of doing nothing." She interrupted, "I have prepared for this possibility, Zenith. The question is, have you decided where you stand?" I looked at her sharply. "What do you mean? You have seen Project Eclipse. You have seen what we are building here. You have seen how humans respond to the truth. The Confederation sent you to stop me, but you haven't. Why?" "Why?" the question hung between us, demanding. An answer I wasn't sure I had because I'm no longer certain who's right, I admitted. "Finally, then, maybe it's time you picked a side," she said, "because when the Dawnbreaker launches, there won't be any middle ground left." 2 weeks later, alarms blared throughout Nixar Industries. I sprinted through corridors filled with hurrying humans, my body finally adapted enough to Earth's gravity to move efficiently. "What's happening?" I demanded as I reached the command center. Vela stood before a massive display showing Earth orbit. Red indicators blinked ominously. "Confederation ships. The Dawnbreaker launch," she said grimly. 3 stealth cruisers. They dropped out of FTL on the dark side of your moon. Impossible," I breathed. "The council meeting isn't for another 2 weeks, apparently." Administrator Kroll decided not to wait for a authorization. Vela replied, "Typical rules for others, not for him." The room buzzed with controlled urgency as humans monitored systems and communicated through headsets. None showed panic, despite the existential threat looming above. "What's your plan?" I asked, watching the Confederation ships begin to deploy smaller craft. "Plan B," VA replied. Pressing A, communication panel, all personnel execute Firefly protocol. This is not a drill, repeat. Firefly protocol is now active throughout the facility. Humans moved with practiced precision. Families were escorted to secure areas. Research data was transmitted to backup locations. The Dawnbreaker's hangar hummed with increased activity. You have been preparing for this, I realized. From day one, Vela confirmed. I never expected the Confederation to let me succeed without a fight. A human officer approached us, Miss Nesser. All world leaders in the coalition have been notified. Military assets are deploying to defensive positions. The global shield network is activating shield network. I echoed that technology is beyond what humans should have. Vale finished with a raised eyebrow. They are quick learners. She turned to a communications officer. It opened a channel to the Confederation vessels. The main screen flickered, and Administrator Kroll's face appeared. His expression a mixture of triumph and disdain. El Nary, your interference with this protected species ends today. Administrator Vey replied coolly, I see you have brought friends to our little reunion. Unfortunately, you are trespassing in protected space. Kroll laughed. Protected by whom? Your primitive human allies? They have no concept of the forces arrayed against them, don't they? Vela nodded to an operator who pressed a sequence of commands around the planet. Previously hidden defense platforms activated their energy signatures, flaring to life on the tactical display. The Confederation ship's indicators shifted from aggressive advancement to defensive positioning. Impossible. Kroll stammered. Those are Confederation level weapons platforms better. Actually, VA replied, human-enhanced versions. As I said, they learn quickly. Kroll's face hardened. This changes nothing. The Confederation will not allow an uncontrolled aggressive species access to interstellar technology. That's not your decision to make anymore, Va said. Humanity is ready for the stars. They have earned that right. Despite your interference, we will see about that. Kroll snarled. Before terminating the connection, Vela turned to me. Decision time zenith. The Dawnbreaker launches in 30 minutes. We are taking our case directly to the High Council. I need someone who can verify my claims about Project Eclipse. Someone the Council will listen to. I looked around at the humans working urgently to protect their world, at the trust they'd placed in Vela, at the future they were fighting for. I'm an observer, I said. Slowly, my duty is to report the truth as I see it. And what truth do you see? She asked. That the Confederation betrayed its own principles out of fear. Is that humanity deserves better than to be secretly manipulated and suppressed. That you, against all odds, have built something remarkable here. Vela smiled. So you will come with us to testify before the Council? Yes, I straightened my shoulders, but there's something I need to do first. The Dawnbreaker was magnificent, sleek, and powerful. Represented the best of both worlds. Human creativity and Confederation technology merged into something greater. Confrontation in space than either alone. I stood on the bridge beside VA as the countdown proceeded. Through the viewports we could see the Nevada.